Okay, and we are recording today's session. But welcome everyone. Welcome to our course selection webinar. A little bit about the next 45 minutes that we will all be together. A little bit about the overview here is you're going to get an introduction to Webb's academic program tonight. And you're going to start getting information on how to select your courses. And really, that is the start of your academic journey here. So we are so excited that you are here joining us. We've got some wonderful colleagues of mine that I will briefly introduce as well. But my name is Holly Arnold. I am the Associate Director of Admission here. So wonderful to see so many familiar names here tonight. And I am joined by our registrar and our Director of Studies. So I will turn it over to them now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ms. Turpak. I am the registrar. I've been at Webb for about 8 years now. I'm also a dorm head. I live on campus and head the Jameson dorm, which is a girls' dorm for upperclassmen. I'm really excited to dig into this information tonight, get you started with the course selection process, and also just answer any questions you might have for any boarding students about living on campus or joining the community. And then joining me is Ms. Butler Roberts.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. Yes, my name is Mrs. Butler Roberts. I'm the Director of Studies here at Webb, and I oversee the academic program. I am with Ms. Turpak. We are the folks who will talk you through the course selection process now and in the future. And we're also here I'm also one of the science faculty here at Webb. I teach the 10th grade IPC class. So for those of you who are coming in your 9th and 10th grade year, I could potentially also be your teacher. So I think so we can kind of get things rolling. I'll begin talking you through what your options are, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Turpak to go into more of the logistics. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so what you can see on the screen in front of you is the standard 9th and 10th core curriculum that all students at Webb take. As you may recall from your visitation and review of Webb's program, all 9th graders will start by taking evolutionary bio as their science, and then 10th graders will take integrated physics and chemistry as their science. And then their math will be variable. Math placement in 9th is depending on what grade you're entering, is always based upon your placement test, which you'll learn more about from Ms. Turpak as we move forward in the presentation. In humanities, again, as part of our core program, all 9th graders, regardless of what their background, will take the fundamentals of composition class and our fundamentals of civilization class. And then in 10th grade, they'll take the American Idea class and the American Society class. Those are our common course for all our 9th and 10th graders. And then world languages, much like math, is going to be based upon your placement test that you're going to be taking in the next few weeks. And fine arts electives are really where 9th and 10th graders have their flexibility in their choice. The majority of the program for 9th and 10th grade is pretty much set as we have the course standards, but fine arts is where you get to choose the electives that are most interesting to you. So whether you are interested in performing arts or visual arts, there's a number of opportunities available to you. As you can see, you could take Art AB, which is more of the standard art class with drawing and painting, versus our media arts class, which is more working with computers and our digital arts. We also have filmmaking studio. We have 2 years of that if someone is interested in that. And then our new media and communications would be the second year of the media arts class, or the advanced arts curriculum would be the second year of the visual arts program if you are not pursuing the digital media path. If you are into performing arts, we have our Sinfonia, which we have our strings and our woodwinds and our percussion section. And then we also have a theater arts program. We have 2 years for our theater arts program. With theater arts, 1, 2, and then we have honor theater performance workshop. And then we also have vocal training as well as honor chamber singers. So those would be the options for you to start to think about in the next few weeks as you do your course selection. That is your primary area of choice as you are entering 9th and 10th grade. As we move to the next. Incoming 11th and 12th grade curriculum, that is where students will tend to, that's once students have completed the core program, that is when they tend to have more flexibility and choice of electives. That's when your science electives begin to emerge. You have non-honors and you have advanced studies electives in science as well as math, humanities, and in your world languages and fine arts. As you can see in sciences, we have various levels of both honors and advanced studies in biology, chemistry, physics, environmental science, as well as engineering and neuroscience. We also, in our math electives, we go all the way up to Calculus 2 is in advanced studies, and then we also have advanced statistics as well as regular statistics, and then we also have advanced electives like linear algebra and multivariable calculus. So students, based on where they start their math journey, have more freedom to pursue additional electives, even sometimes double up in their 10th, in their 11th and 12th grade year, as long as they've completed their core requirements. Humanities, that's really where our program shines in terms of a student choice. There's so many opportunities. If you have gone on our website to look at the course catalog, you'll see a list of over 70 humanities electives. Now, they don't all run in the same year. We alternate them. But that is where, as a student, you really get to begin to further customize your program to meet your interests and your passions. And as you can also see, we have upper level world languages, and we have every level up through, you have the base level all the way up to advanced studies in all 3 languages that we provide. And then again, additionally, we have advanced studies electives in the fine arts. So these are some of the options, and you'll also see one of Webb's most unique programs, which is our paleontology program. While students can consider looking at that in their junior year, as well as our journalism program, can begin to look at that a little bit in their sophomore year. That is only after they've completed their freshman fine arts requirement. So there's some discussion. If you think you were interested in journalism and paleontology, you would want to reach out, or even our tech and innovation seminar. You'd want to talk to myself or Ms. Turpak to see if when you might be able to pursue that. We want to make sure that you completed your fine arts requirement so that you can meet your graduation requirement, and then you can consider pursuing some other avenues. Next. What you see here is our very busy schedule. So we have a 7-day rotational schedule that goes A through G blocks, where you can see every day you would have an 8:30 to roughly 9:50 class. Then depending on the day of the week, we have alternating time periods where you're either actually having chapel, advisory, or this is a slightly dated schedule. Office hours on Monday is now assembly. So that's also a common meeting time where the whole school comes together, and we do announcements and, giveaways and all kinds of fun stuff. And then as you see after that, you would have, a standard 10:30 to 11:50 class, which is the class just before lunch. And then as you look at the schedule, you can see it kind of rotates depending on the day. The start time of the 3rd period class of the day, but we only meet 3 classes a day. And then depending also on the day, you'll see office hours are interspersed throughout the week, so that's an opportunity for following classes. Students can go and speak with their teachers if they have any questions, or they would like to do some extra practice or get some extra support. And then you also, after that, we have our afternoon athletics program and dinner. And then following that, you have evening study, which begins at 7. Actually, at 7, it says 7 p.m., but it actually will start at 7:30. And it goes from 7:30 to 9, Sunday through Thursday. So I'm now going to turn it over to Ms. Turpak, who will walk you through the selection process.
Yeah, so I'm sure you're all wondering when and how do I get to sign up for everything? Our tech team is putting the final touch on creating all of your personalized web email addresses. And so you're going to be receiving that information tomorrow. The admissions office is going to be sending it out to you. You'll get your web email address along with a temporary password. And then you'll be able to start logging into what we call My Web. It's that website that's right there at the top of the slideshow, web.myscholapp.com. And that is our student information system. It's where all of our school forms are housed. Once grades start coming out, that's where you will see report cards, your transcripts, your schedule, things like that. Parents already have access to that. That's where they went in and signed your enrollment contract to come to Web, your enrollment agreement. And so they can already be logging in and looking at some parent forms that are there for them to start filling out, biographical information, emergency contact info, things like that. But students, you're going to receive your information tomorrow, and that's when you're going to be able to log in and start this whole process. You're going to see the yellow notification bar pop up across once you log in for the first time that says you have X number of forms to review. And it's based on whether or not you're a boarding student or a day student. You might have a different number. But the most important ones we already highlighted here. The first one is going to be your course selection form. This is what you're going to fill out and tell us what language you're interested in taking between Chinese, Spanish, or French, as well as what your choice for fine arts are going to be. For ninth and 10th graders, those are really the only two things that you're going to be filling out on the course selection form. Though for everybody, it's going to have questions about advisory grouping as well in there. This is where you'll tell us kind of what you're looking for in terms of an on-campus faculty advisor, what kind of student grouping you're looking at. So you'll see all of those questions there. For our incoming upperclassmen, you'll see some more questions about the other areas like humanities and science as to what kind of classes you're going to be looking at. But it's really important for our incoming juniors and seniors. You're going to actually need to set up an appointment with either me or Miss Butler Roberts so we can kind of look at your current grades, look at your current classes, and see where you fit into all of the graduation requirements that we have at Webb and what courses will be best for you. So yours is going to be a little bit more open-ended when you log in and see that form, just because we want to take the time to meet with you and kind of fill that out together. But for incoming ninth and 10th graders, you'll see the options right in there to fill out which language you're interested in, which fine arts courses you're taking. We are also going to have afternoon activity selection form. That is where you'll be able to choose. We have 3 seasons for afternoon activities and athletics. And so you'll be able to put in your first choice for each one of those seasons, along with some backup alternate options as well. The course catalog that we have online, the very first part of it is highlights all of our academic policies and what courses we offer. And then the last part of it does go over all of the different afternoon activities that we offer. Students are required to complete at least one sport during the year. The other 2 seasons can be another sport or an afternoon activity. It's up to you. So that's where you're going to fill out the information as to which ones you're interested in. And there's also some question about uniform sizing as well, so we can kind of get an indication of what we're looking for there. There are some additional forms, like for boarding students, there's a dean's form that asks about your roommate preferences. If you're messy, if you're clean, if you like to share things, what kind of music you like to listen to. And the dean's office will be looking at that information to help pair you up with a roommate during the summer. You might see some additional ones in there about profile information. We're just asking for some more background information, as well as a student and parent agreement. That's a form that you and your parent will fill out. You each have to kind of fill it out and sign off on that one. So once you get that info tomorrow, you'll be able to log in there and complete those forms. The next thing that you're going to do, and we can go to the next slide, is actually going to be taking your placement tests. those are done on a separate website called Canvas. Some of you might already be using that at your current school, where you have like class pages and assignments and things like that. So all incoming students are going to have to take a math placement test. So everybody's going to log in. You're going to use the same login information that you'll be getting tomorrow, your email address and temporary password. And you're going to log in there in order to take the math placement test. For the language, you'll also see a language and a Symphonia placement on there. The language placement is only if you plan to go into a language that you've already had some experience in. If you're coming in brand new, you've never taken French before, you're so excited to start the program, you're going to be in French 1. Awesome, great. You do not have to do a placement test for that. If, however, you've actually been studying for French for a year or two already, then you will be needing to do the placement test. That helps us make sure that we're putting you in the correct level. If you are a native speaker already for a language, that's where things can get a little tricky sometimes. It just depends on what you're interested in doing. We do have some native speakers, or we call them sometimes heritage speakers, where you might be able to speak the language, but you haven't necessarily worked on reading it and writing it, but you want to gain those skills. So if you do have, if that's like something that you're interested in pursuing, you can take the placement test for that language. But depending on how you place on that test, we may have you take a different language instead. Just because our graduation requirement here at Webb is that you need to be able to take 3 years of the same language. And so if you're coming in and you actually maybe know more than you think for that language,
Mhm.
and you're going to come in super advanced and not necessarily, you won't have the opportunity to take 3 full years of that language, then we are actually going to have you take a different one just so that you can meet that graduation requirement. But if you have questions about whether or not you need to take one, you'll see our contact info at the end of this presentation, and you can reach out and just double check if you have any questions about that. The last one is a Symphonia audition, and this is for any students that are interested in joining our orchestra here. So we do have strings, woodwinds, and percussion. We do not have piano as part of that program, and we don't have guitar, just so you know. We do have an afternoon music program that has those, but that's one of the afternoon activities, not your academic class. But so if you put down that you are interested in joining our orchestra and you have some experience already, then you'll be able to film your audition. You can just do it on your phone and upload it into that portion of Canvas. There are some requirements for it, and you'll see all of that outlined. If you don't play an instrument and you're not playing, then you don't need to do that one. Are placement exams taken online only? Yes, they're only done online. There are timing requirements for the different exams. So you'll see when you log into each course page, like you're going to see one for math, you'll log in and it'll give you all the instructions before you click enter and start this exam. Some of them are self-timed, some of them are done with a timer on the actual assignment. So just make sure that you read through the instructions before you start the test. And then once you start it, you need to actually take it. It's not like clicking through to see all the questions first. You will not be able to redo it. So you just need to make sure you have the time set aside after you read the instructions and kind of get all your materials together, get in the right, nice, quiet, studious place where you can take the test, and then you'll be able to submit that. We're asking for all the placement tests as well as the forms to be turned into us in the next 2 weeks by May 1st. That way we can go ahead and get started and start building schedules and seeing where we're going to put you guys. It also helps us reach back out if we have any questions while school's still in session for all of us here, and just kind of, start building that relationship as we start figuring out exactly what pathway you're thinking about, what classes you want to take, and anything that, you might be excited about a particular program. And we're definitely here to help answer all of that. I do want to point out that one of the bullet points on here is that you're not going to receive results of the placement tests just because it's not the only factor that we're using in terms of looking at what class you're going to be taking next year. We are also looking at the recommendation letters that came in with your application, as well as your current grades and like your transcript of what classes you're in right now. So you will not see individual results for the test itself, but we are going to be using that as part of the information in order to decide what class you're going to go into. And I do want to emphasize that you should not be trying to like cram and study for this. Like, we just want to know where you are. This is not a judgment on anything. It is, we literally just want to know where you are in terms of your current skills so that we can make sure we're putting you in the right class. Because it can be really intimidating to show up in the first week of school and find out you are not in the right class at all. Speaking of which, we do have some kind of frequently asked questions that we get every year, so I'll kind of start and go through a couple of those.
Actually,
Oh, sure,
Ms.
yeah.
Turpak, I want to add one more thing with regards to the placement exams.
Yeah.
You should, as part of you would have received forms from our health center asking some questions about whether or not you or your student has any accommodations.
Mm,
If you are a student who has accommodations and you have documentation to support that, I would encourage you to please submit that to my office or the health center's office before doing the placement exam so that if we can provide you additional time as needed by those accommodations, we can do that for you. But we'd need that documentation to allow for that to take place. So please reach out to either myself or to the admissions office, and we can coordinate your submission of that material so that we can make sure if you are qualified for extended time, you can get that on the placement test.
absolutely. Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay, so one of the top questions we get, when am I going to get my schedule? Well, you're actually not going to get it until orientation in August, and that's just because we spend all summer working on it. I do all of the scheduling here for all 400 students, and it's honestly one of my favorite parts of my job. And so we spend, weirdly, it is. I like puzzles and things. To me, it's like a 3D Sudoku, building everybody's schedule. So I spend the summer months doing that, and then you'll see it during your orientation in August. And that's also when you'll pick up like books and supplies and things like that for all of your classes. Can you change classes? Sometimes. We do have an add drop period for the first 2 weeks of school, and that is where if students are misplaced for something, then we do have those first couple of weeks in order to get things corrected and fixed. So there should be like a compelling reason, or I'm totally in the wrong thing, or I don't remember signing up for this. Like, we'll all be here on campus together, so you'll be able to stop by and talk to me and Miss Butler Roberts about it, and we can get it sorted out if there's anything that needs to be changed. When are you going to know your afternoon activities? If you have something that starts with summer practices, that you'll get that information ahead of time. That way you can participate if you're local and able to come by. But otherwise, the rest of that information does go out in August. And then how can I prepare over the summer? Giving yourself a mental break of school before you start high school. Honestly, we are not looking for students to be doing any kind of summer prep work. I don't believe we have summer reading assignments anymore. We really want you to come in refreshed, ready to kind of jump right into the web atmosphere here and get the year started with a nice, fresh outlook. I
Um,
do,
I saw one question,
yeah.
I believe regarding about the cost of books as well as other resource materials. Books are a part of the tuition, so we don't ask families to pay additional fees for books. The items that you would need to purchase separately, like a student's independent computer, because we are a one-to-one community, as well as a graphing calculator. That criteria will be shared with you from the departments, and that you should be receiving that. Then when we talk about school materials, that's the information you'll receive in June. But in terms of anything that your student would need within the classroom, that's all a part of the tuition.
Mhm. Now, we did get a question ahead of time asking about how we recommend an incoming ninth grader. What can you do in your first term to get involved quickly and make the most of both academics, clubs, athletics? Great question. I'm so glad that you're excited to jump in and join in everything. In terms of academics, there are a lot of opportunities to connect with people outside of your classes themselves by going to office hours if you want to connect more with your teacher. We'll have study hall and evening lab time where you can also spend more time with like peer tutors, with
Mhm.
other teachers. A lot of different classes will sometimes like host weekend events as well. And it ties into the I'm sorry, to the afternoon programming as well. We are going to have a club fair during close to the start of the year where we'll see all of the different clubs and activities that we offer, and you as a student will be able to go around and sign up for a bunch of them and start going to meetings and figuring out how you want to get involved with that. I think it's also like I said, I'm one of the dorm heads here, so it's really easy to get involved with different dorm activities that we're gonna have, especially like during your free time. On the weekends, we host a lot of stuff still for you to start meeting other people. And when you're looking at your afternoon activities and athletics, I think it's really important for the first season, especially to sign up for something that you're really interested in. Not just kind of doing the thing because you have to do it, but where are you going to meet the most people that have the same interests as you? Whether that's doing the afternoon science lab, or if it's robotics or theater, or if it's going to be joining other runners in the cross country team or water polo team for boys. Like that's a really great opportunity to start meeting people right off the bat in that kind of team atmosphere every day outside of classes where you'll be able to start making some new friends pretty quickly. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Butler Roberts. I think she had a couple of other questions in advance that she wanted to review, and then we're also going to start going through some of the questions in the chat as well.
Yep. So one of the questions was you would like to know how you would get involved in taking honors or advanced placement courses, particularly in the humanities. As I mentioned, when you are coming in ninth and 10th grade, you have the core program, but in 11th and 12th grade, that's where students begin to explore the honors and advanced placement program. And that you would in your 11th and 12th grade year, you would be recommended for whether you should be taking all advanced classes or a combination of advanced and honors. Those are done in all of the departments. And that's when students get the opportunity to really pick and choose what courses they fit their interests, whether it be at honors or advanced. Um, the other question was about advanced placement. And again, as you know, we don't do APs per se, we do advanced studies. So when I'm speaking of advanced classes, I'm talking about our advanced studies classes. That's when you would have the opportunity to choose that. Another question that was raised was what is the recommended course load for new sophomores? Again, hopefully, as you saw from the initial presentation, because sophomores, you have pretty much a core program with the exception of your electives, which you get to choose more independently. And then beyond that is when the flexibility in terms of choosing classes kind of becomes available to you. And then one of the other questions, which is I'm really happy to answer, is what support systems are available if you're struggling in class. Now, Ms. Turpak and I both had mentioned some of the things that are available for a student. Obviously, the teacher is the first line of support for students, whether it's after class or it's during the office hours, which happen at a minimum of 3 times a week at the end of the day. Students and then also are encouraged to come to evening labs if that's available to them. Their academic labs available almost every night of the week between Monday and Thursday. At various times that run between 7:30 and 9. So those are two initial resources for terms of additional support. But then we also have on staff a learning specialist who is available to support students in terms of executive functioning, organization challenges, or other things. But that person also oversees our peer tutoring program, where there are peer tutors available to students either by request or on a drop-in basis that's located in a central location such as the library. So those are the ways that students, if they're looking for support, whether it's from an adult or from a peer, those are some of the options that are available to them. Trying to see. I think those were the main questions that we received ahead of the time. I think there's some others that come in.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll do a couple rapid fire responses to some that I'm seeing in the chat
mhm.
first and then into the Q&A. Do math and world language classes have mixed grade levels? Yes, they
Yes.
do. For most part, the math is pretty mixed. World language, the level one will be all freshmen, but or maybe some incoming sophomores as well. But yeah, they're pretty mixed, especially in the junior, senior years.
Mhm.
What app do we need to download for placement test? That's going to be done on Canvas. So in the email that you'll receive tomorrow with your login information, it'll give you the website for your forms and then also the website for your placement test. So you'll get both of that in writing tomorrow. Is there information about uniforms for advisory dinners? Yes. So uniform days, where you have to wear uniforms for some of our community dinners or for Sunday chapels or special events. That information will be part of our admitted student page, as well as there's going to be a resource board when you log into our MyWeb account, and that'll have information about laptop specs. I saw somebody else asking about that. It'll have information about uniforms. It's going to have stuff about if you need to get a US-based cell phone plan or banking information, as well as our calendar. So you'll be able to see all of that once you're able to get into that portal. We do have somebody asked about a web hoodie. We do have a student store. I don't know if they're selling anything online. I'm not
Not
actually
as of
sure.
yet.
No?
Not as of
Okay.
yet.
But yeah, so next time you're able to come on campus, you'll be able to get something from the student store. How long did the placement test take? I think anywhere from like 60 to 90 minutes. Unless you're doing the Symphonia audition, which is much shorter, probably about 10 minutes or so. The login is not a personal email for parents it is. For parents, it's your personal email that they already have their account created. For students, it's actually going to be your brand new web email. So you'll be logging in with that, and that's the information that you're going to get tomorrow. And then I've only been looking at the chat. We're
I'm
gonna
looking at the
turn our
Q&A.
attention. Yeah, Miss Butler Roberts is gonna start answering some of the Q&A questions.
I'll just start from the top. Are there limits to the amount of extracurricular activities you can take? Yes, you can take 3 during the afternoon, one each season. You can't double up on those, but there's all kinds of opportunities that you can, I guess, the clubs are another way that students do do extracurricular work without being in that program. So that's one answer. When are placement tests due? They're due on the 31st of May. I said that right, yes.
No, the first
Um,
of May, yeah.
I think we already got the how long they take. I think the questions about insights around the math and language test, I think I'm hope I'm hopeful that you don't stress yourself out about it. The whole goal of those is for us to see where you're at and for us to place you where it's appropriate. I think what you know your instinct might be to study really hard for it. That's not necessarily the best thing to do. Go in it with what you know because that will allow for us to have a good sense of where you can be best placed and you can feel most successful in our program. Um, in terms of, so what materials do we need for 504 plan? And would the last year's plan work? I think that's fine if you have documentation. So if you're a student who already has a documented need for accommodations, just submitting that material with us, any testing, any existing 504s or IEPs, all that material is helpful for us so that we can begin to think about what accommodations to put in place for you when you come to campus, but then also what accommodations we can provide for you if needed for the testing period. Let's keep going. Let's see.
There's one about testing out of science classes. Do you want to answer that?
Let's see. Is there any ability to test out or above in the science classes? No. Um, No, if you're coming in as a ninth grader or a 10th grader, all ninth, 10th graders take the same classes. So even if you've already taken chemistry, you will still take IPC. And some of that, again, is it's not just about the content. We actually go far beyond the content. Webb's whole program is about experiential learning. So while you might have maybe taken chemistry, or you may have taken physics, or even taking evolutionary bio, it's much more about you taking that knowledge and then applying it outside of just what you learned in a textbook. So that is why we have that as our core program. Um, if you come in as a junior or senior, those would be the things when you talk with me about what your course selections are. That's when we would discuss what you would need to do in order for you to be able to move forward in our program. Most students by that point have taken those classes, so one or more of those classes, so we're able to have a little bit more flexibility in that regard. Is the student, is the school,
Is the school able to accommodate everyone's course selections? Or is it first come, first serve? It's not first come, first serve. I'm not going to be looking at everybody's selections until after May 1st because I want to see the general, like what everybody is looking for. At that point, there are some course number limits. So I do try to balance like how many students are in each program. So it's kind of complicated. It also depends on what other classes you're taking as to where, like which one you might end up in for your fine arts. So I try my hardest to give everybody their first choice if I can. If not, then you'll have your alternates listed and I'll go in preference order for that. The next is, are there loaner laptops that can be used in case a student forgets theirs? We do have a technology office that is usually able to help accommodate students in those cases. So that is just like in an emergency situation. Yeah, there's somebody there that can help you with that. Can you do sports and robotics? You can, but not on the same season.
right?
Just because robotics is an afternoon activity, the winter is their competition season. In the fall, they're more building all of their robots. So if robotics is really important to you, you'll want to earmark that for either the fall or winter and make sure that you're doing your sports during the spring season or one of those two, depending on what you're most interested in. Do advanced study classes count as an AP in a weighted GPA system? Does Webb calculate GPAs? Yes, we do. When we used to have AP courses, they and advanced studies are weighted at the same. It is an advanced course, so it is our highest level. These courses are specially built by our faculty based on their academic interest and what they've gotten their advanced degrees in. So it's a really unique opportunity to learn from these experts in the field at these really, unique topics. So those courses do have some more weight to them than the honors. Honors is also an advanced, is like, a step up from a regular kind of college prep course. And so there is some weight given to honors and then a little bit more weight given to the advanced courses. Webb does calculate both an unweighted and a weighted GPA, and you'll see both of them on your transcript.
Okay. I see a question about American Idea as being challenging. And is there a way to prepare for the rigor that is coming new to Webb? I think in your summer, the rigor, if you like to read, reading is always a good idea. I would encourage that no matter what year you're coming in. But not to say that that's the only thing that can help, but I think one, that is going to be a good preparation for any of our classes, regardless of what level. Getting yourself comfortable with, reading text closely and, learning how to do that and working towards not only that, but also getting comfortable asking questions about what you don't understand. I think that is the best way to get prepared. It's hard to challenging is, I guess, a relative term because it's about the experience, and all of our teachers are here to support you in that. And so I think that is probably the best answer I can provide. I'm seeing a freshman wanting to join student government and other clubs. Yes, you can. When an activity fair happens, you'll there'll be information out about clubs in terms of student government. There will be opportunities for freshman officers to be elected. And so there will be times in the fall when that will be the election season will start, and there will be an opportunity for an incoming freshman to become officers for their grade.
Sorry, I'm just typing some responses. As I see, we're almost running out of time.
Yes, so
So I
I'm
do
trying,
see that Miss Arnold has put our contact information up there on the screen for you.
yes.
So if we were not able to answer your question today, please do reach out to us. I know we're trying to like rapid fire answer as many as we can, but there are a lot. And it seems like there's a lot of questions as well about afternoon activities and
Mhm.
athletics. So I would, if you have those questions, send them our way. We can make sure that we get you in touch with Miss Cap, who is our director of athletics, and make sure that you get an answer to all your questions about that.
Um, Ms. Turpak, were you able to answer the question about clubs and activities and cuts?
I did not.
All right. So there was a question that asked about whether there are cuts to sports clubs or activities. We do not make cuts to activities, depending on the sport, just because of the size of certain sports and transportation. There are some sports that there are some cuts, but that is not our standard practice. Um, by and large, we try to allow every student to participate in the sport or activity that they want to do. And that seems to be, has been successful up to this point. I think that is most of what we've covered. 'Cause so,
Yeah, I'm trying to read through them really quickly
yes, I'm
too.
sorry.
A lot of these are about clubs. I'm sorry, I'm trying to
See
scroll through pretty.
volleyball and tennis as an option. I believe, yes, I think you can play volleyball in the spring, in the fall, and then tennis in the spring. It's saying if you play both, there's an option. I believe that you're able to do volleyball in during the fall season and then tennis in our spring season.
However, I did see a question about whether you can take orchestra and choir at the same time. And for that, because those are both academic classes, the answer is no, because you're only going to have time in your schedule for one fine arts course as a freshman or sophomore. There are some afternoon programs, or you may be able to audition for the play or the musical, something like that to kind of help you meet your needs for the arts in that other method. So yeah, you won't be able to take both at the same time in your schedule, but you will still have the opportunity to participate in other outside activities.
I do see one question about web helping you apply for competitive summer internships. We have Dr. Lindsley, who is responsible, oversees our I'm sorry, our experiential learning program. There are activities and internships that come across her desk as well as those that come across mine. And so we are happy to try and help students look and help them in securing and looking for internships where possible. We currently don't have an active program where we do that for every student, but if you're interested in it, then we're more than happy and to help support you in that process. I think okay. Summer volunteer hours. We actually do not have um, we do not have service requirements. So you're not required to submit your service hours at Web. That's not a part of our graduation requirement. So you don't need to do that. I think that's most of them. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone again for joining us on this evening. We had a wonderful, wonderful turnout here. We will put this recording into the student portal as well, so you can access that again. And feel free to reach out by email at any time. And you can always reach out to admission as well. And we will see you at the next event. And we will see you all
We'll
on
see you very
campus
soon.
in the fall. Take care,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you for coming.